thank you so much for coming on the Amplify podcast right now. We're at AIM Summit 2022. This is crazy. We're all here in person. And you just got done with a panel discussion on the new compensation survey and report that Christine, you particularly really dug into.
Yes, I did. I love analysis.
I'm excited to kind of dig into that a little bit more. You presented some amazing data and some findings already, and then had a great conversation with some very experienced marketers. And I thought it was a great conversation. I don't want to take away from that conversation. So maybe we'll have a little different conversation, more focused on just the report and some of the findings that you both came out of that with. So for those that aren't familiar, talk a little bit more about the compensation survey and report and kind of how that was put together.
Well, the survey is done every 2 years, and so we actually took a little bit different spin on it this year. We wanted to interview some past participants from 2 years ago that took it to actually determine, are the survey questions the right questions and what questions we should ask. So that was a little bit different of what has been done in the past. And so then we created the survey instrument, and we actually got about 200 participants that participated in the survey, which is awesome. Great.
211 to be specific.
Okay. So 211 that participated in the survey, and then Christine, like you said, did all of the analysis. She's the brain of the survey. And we're really happy with how it turned out. And we worked very collaboratively with the steering committee on all of the whole entire, from start to finish.
We really want to thank the people who took the time out of their full-time jobs to support the survey, and that's how important it is that they've invested a lot of time and effort and budget at AIM to really make this a great product for members and non-members in particular.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's key too, because not only can members, the marketers buy the survey, and think about, well, how much should I get paid or what benefits should I receive? It's much more than that. HR professionals can think about, okay, what is happening and what career tracks, should we consider the future of the accounting marketers, as well as managing partners, like what's happening in this industry and, how can I keep my accounting marketers so that I'm not having to hire, all of the time?
And integrate them into leadership.
Yeah.
Which is, we're seeing that happening, and it's a great thing given the direction that marketing is headed into more of a digital realm, needing specialists, having that leadership at the table to say, this is the strategy that we'll need to employ to stay competitive. And you're going to get that from the accounting marketers who have the experience, or those growth professionals, those BD professionals who are seeing what's happening in the market, talking to prospects and giving that input to the leaders as they're working on the technical services, the strategy for the firm. So it's really important to put that point forth.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity with this survey, I think.
Yeah. No, I that was what I was hearing, and now I'm hearing it again. So it's very clear. There's some
We're going to stay on our
value.
key messages with this.
Yes.
You must work in marketing.
For a while.
Yeah. A couple years.
Yeah.
Don actually worked at 2 accounting firms as a marketing director before
So
being
deep
principal of
experience.
Ingenuity. So we're providing all that consulting now to firms to
That's
support
fantastic.
their growth,
Yeah.
for sure.
Talk to me a little bit about maybe what's the big takeaway for each of you from the survey. What was not maybe the most surprising, but kind of like, oh wow, that's the big takeaway that I would hope anyone that looks at this, reads even the executive summary, gets from it.
Yeah, I think it was the tenure because, I've been in accounting marketing for over 20 years, but I didn't realize that over 35% of people had been in accounting marketing for that long, as well as, we said this on stage, but the average is 11 years of accounting marketers. And that's huge when you think about it.
Right.
Because I always feel like everyone looks so young when I see them, and everyone's like, there's a lot of turnover, but actually there's not.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and that's just a testament to the firms providing that culture and that opportunity. And I think we're seeing that with 18% of firms now having CMOs. They're really investing in their marketing and business development side, where in the beginning, it really was in the early 90s more of a support role. Like, oh, can you coordinate this and that and wear all of these hats? And to some extent, that's still happening with 1 to 4 people in a marketing team. And I was surprised by that. I thought 4 people, sometimes even just 1, managing all of the change and all of the opportunity, all of the activities that can support a firm to help them grow, stay independent, or even look for acquisition opportunities. And so we wanted to really emphasize the fact that there's a ton of experience. Here are ways that you can hold on to that experience. So the takeaways in the report really talk about how firms can leverage the data that's available now and to build a team that is knowledgeable, maintains momentum, and is competitive and is exciting to work in, so that they don't lose those team members to other firms or even other industries.
Yeah, that there's an actual path in leadership and growing in your career and your professional development beyond just the role that you've been hired into.
Right, because I think in lots of different industries, like my husband works for a bank, he knows exactly what the next step is on where he wants to go and how much he can make based on what tier he's at. And that's actually what needs to happen in our industry almost.
Yeah.
Right, and there was a small percentage of firms that have a structured compensation tier to show, well, you're at this salary or wage range, here's your next step.
Yep.
And in public education, my husband is a public education teacher. He knows his steps and lanes. He knows what's required for education to move to the next step and lane. And if we could see that in accounting, marketing, and business development, it just makes it clearer for these younger professionals to know, well, if I'm here for 2 years, this is my next step, or if I want to specialize. And I was glad to hear that one of the COOs who was in our presentation said that they had a dialogue right at the table during our presentation among the younger professionals who were really excited to hear, oh, so if I'm interested as a specialist and want to really go in this lane, that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it isn't just management tiers, but there's specialization tiers as well.
Correct. If you love SEO, if you love social media, if you love communications or PR, those specialists are now available in firms, and you can really build a trajectory in that direction.
That's great. What were maybe some really surprising findings from the report, things that maybe you wouldn't have expected to find?
Christine?
Well, certifications. You might have seen on the presentation there was a word cloud.
Yep.
And I don't like to use a lot of word clouds, but
This one was appropriate.
Yeah.
MBA obviously stood out very boldly in that word cloud, and we wanted to do that on purpose because MBAs, that is a very high-level degree, and it is becoming more important for marketers to understand the financial piece of growing a firm and having that bigger picture of how their work ties into attracting clients, retaining clients, what are the key performance indicators of the firm. All of that is becoming more important. So it's really showing the level of experience and knowledge that marketers need now to be effective.
Yeah. No, that's definitely one that kind of stuck out for me as well. When you guys were presenting the findings, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of opportunity for people to get certified. And obviously there's not a lot of structure yet around all of that, but maybe that'll be coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you? Any surprises, maybe perks or benefits?
Yeah, as an owner of a business, I'm always looking for new benefits or new perks all the time. I'm trying to figure out, especially as a small agency, because how can I keep my people? And so I think some of the perks were really interesting. And, we talked about it, like the pet care, or pet care insurance and things like that. I mean, you wouldn't think that would be important, but pets are an important part of our families nowadays. And so I thought it was really interesting that firms are thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's key here,
Yeah.
is that they might be surveying, their employees or seeing what's important to them. And if that's important to them, I think that's great.
Yeah, and really differentiating themselves. I know the steering committee was interested in asking about paid family leave, which was a new question this year. And I did some additional digging in my analysis and found that more states are actually requiring some type of paid family leave benefit separate from PTO or sick time. And so I find that to be fascinating as to how firms could set that precedent and say we're going to be one of the first to step forward and offer a more formal family leave benefit.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge.
Yep. What were some of the other kind of findings in terms of benefits and perks that you found in the survey? I think that's a topic that I'm hearing a lot about, so I would love to kind of dig in a little bit further.
I think what we heard yesterday regarding client experience, employee experience, being able to bring your whole self to work, tied into the benefit of paid volunteer time. Being able to pursue interests and causes you believe in outside of the office and having the firm support you in that were some great things to see. And yet it's still a small percentage of firms offering that as a unique benefit, but I think we'll see a trend in that going forward for sure.
That's really interesting.
Really looking at the whole person.
Yeah.
Like you're serving this role for us in the firm, but we want to know all about you and what you're passionate about, and we want to support that. And I think that supports professional retention.
That's great. Any other interesting things that you want to let people know about before we tell them where they can find the report and the survey?
I was just really happy that we had a great turnout in Canada.
Sure.
In Canada, because I think in the past we have not been able to do that. So we were really happy with that.
Yeah.
And something unique about the report is that we have a section just on Canadian leaders and what they had to say, as well as some basic segmenting by region. So because of the remote work experience that people have had the last 2 years, or if a firm has multiple offices, they want to know what's the compensation or benefits differentiation in Mid-Atlantic versus DC or Midwest or Southeast. And so we have some sections on that. We can probably build on that more in the future or have dialogue about, the differences in salaries and benefits by region. But we wanted to make sure that was a part of this report.
Yeah, I think that's really important. One last question before we get to where people can find it, because I realized we should ask this. I'm a marketing professional in a firm. How do I use this survey and use this data either to kind of further my own career or to build those, that are on my team?
I think you can get a lot of ideas, especially around specialization too, just for yourself, what's happening, as well as then if you are a manager of a team, you can see, compensation, benefits, you can go to your HR. Sometimes you don't have control over that, but you can fight for them, as well as then the specialization and certifications and, talking to your team, just, like Jamie had done, and, what are they interested in? What do they have a passion for? So I think from that standpoint,
yeah, I think if you're a leader of a team, you should be asking your team their goals, their interests, and get them to be a little more forthcoming about where they think their career will head in the future, and maybe even head off some lack of engagement in that process. But also as a young professional, and I mentioned this in the presentation, advocate for yourself. Don't go into those performance reviews or those check-ins with nothing to say on your behalf, but have a plan and goals that you want to talk about with your manager or your supervisor, so that you can build that career within the firm and they can think about how that could look. Sometimes, they have so many things going on. They're not always focused on you and your needs. And so just, bring some things forth.
I completely agree with you, Christine. So I have this quick story. So when I was first in accounting marketing, and this is like 1996, I remember preparing for my first performance review, and I got all of these references from people that I worked with, other accounting marketers, or the association that we were a member of, and just all this data around compensation, because I wanted, I was okay, here's what's happening. And especially when a few years I was there and I wanted to move to marketing director because I was a marketing coordinator. And I remember walking in there and I was presenting and Jeff, the managing partner, he's like, Dawn, no one else has all of this information and prepares for the review like you. And that was because no one else was going to fight for yourself. You have to do it.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Very great story. And look where you are today. Own your own firm.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Being a little vulnerable and asking and putting some cards on the table goes a long way towards kind of giving you that opportunity to advance.
Right.
And using this report has the data. It's right in front of you. So you can say, I'm at this level. This is the average salary across North America. I'm not there. Why am I not there? What is it going to take for me to get at least average or even beyond? Or I deserve beyond average.
Make the case.
Exactly.
I love it. How can people find the report, find the survey, and get more information?
So there is a landing page on the AAM website, and I believe they will also be sending out, I'm guessing, well, they will be, social media and email and everything and promoting it. There is an executive report that everyone can read and receive that will give you a few highlights, but of course we encourage you to go to and download the report, of course.
Yes.
And we at Ingenuity, obviously, we're proud of being partners with the survey this year, and we'll be promoting it as well. So you can check out our social media.
Yeah, so that's great. How can people find out more about the two of you?
Let's see. Go to ingenuitymarketing.com, or you can go to our LinkedIn. So
Yeah, check us out on social media, follow our profiles, and yeah, we would love to have a conversation with anyone who has questions about this year's report or services to augment their team right now. That 1 to 4 average size team. We can support that.
That's great. That's so great. Thank you both for coming on. Amplify at AIM Summit.
Yes.
So
Thanks,
fun
Mike.
Doing the podcast here in person, live, with some amazing people like you two. And thank you for presenting to everyone here at Summit. I think that was a great kind of discussion and kind of unpacking with some marketing leaders as well. It was really cool.
Yeah, we appreciate our leaders who were willing to prepare their questions, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great time. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So this is Mike Jones for Amplify, the podcast for marketing professionals in the accounting world. And so we're so excited that everyone was able to listen in on this very special episode live here from AIM Summit. So if anyone wants to find out more information about Amplify, this podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else that podcasts are found. I believe we're on Stitcher as well. And then as well, you can go to the accountingmarketing.org website. If you look for publications, drop down, there's podcasts. You can find all the past episodes of this podcast. There's tons of great information on there. So I hope everyone checks that out. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
We've got some great ideas for